The foundation for the equalization of technology is being laid in both industrial and economic fields to create a mutually prosperous world. All fields from medicine, beverages, machinery, construction, shipbuilding, and even leisure tourism. Reverend Myung gives special attention and much investment into the ocean industry and aviation industry in order to solve world hunger and to prepare for the space age. Media outlets in Korea, Japan, and America are providing fast and accurate information and leading the formation of a righteous public opinion. Raising global leaders with international minds who show love for heaven, human, and the nation. Schools from preschool to graduate schools are in operation in Korea and America. Here, the gate to the world of learning and truth is open. Culture, art, and sports which transcend all barriers. The Little Angels and Universal Ballet make the world beautiful through Korea's traditional dances, songs, and heavenly art. Martial arts combining East and West. Songnam Ilhwa, the top soccer team in Asia, and the world-level international soccer tournament, the Peace Cup. Reverend Myung is creating the world centering on the culture of heart, which transcends all national boundaries. Now, bases for oceanic operations are established all around the world. They are founded in order to solve problems of world hunger and the energy crisis through the ocean. Reverend Myung also invented the resin molding method and created a leisure boat to hasten the dawn of the age of ocean leisure.
Reverend Myung also greatly influenced Korea's automobile and electronics industry. In 1980, he brought automobile parts manufacturing technologies from Germany to Korea. And in 1988, he bought Japan's Wacom Electronics and led the development of Korea's electronics industry. Furthermore, he is attracting the attention of the world with the Bering Strait project, under operation along with the Korea-Japan undersea tunnel, which are both being worked on. The nations concerned are discreetly discussing the matter. The project, which is called the World Peace King Bridge and Tunnel, will connect Russia and America, and it symbolizes the effort to destroy the barriers made by Satan. Tongil Group exists to support this ideal. Reverend Myung's countless international activities of various different fields have one main purpose. This is to tear down all barriers and realize God's ideal of creating one family under God.
Good morning. That song, Yes Now, Yes Lord, Yes, Yes Lord, it reminds me of this mantra by a very successful marketer. He said, before your feet touch the ground in the morning, what he does every day was, do it now. He would say to himself, do it now, do it now, do it now, 50 times before his feet touch the ground. You can imagine what kind of impetus that would have to your day. When would you brush your teeth? Right away. When would you have breakfast? Right away. You know, anything that you delay would just be immediately swallowed up. So this week I'd like to discuss the aspect of business. It's a controversial subject since our founder is regarded as a religious person. What's he doing with his hand in business? So that's a very good question. What is the purpose of business? To answer this question, I'd like to first go back to the book of Genesis and read to you Genesis 1:28. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. So this question of dominion, it can be misinterpreted very easily. What is dominion? What does dominion mean in this case? What does it mean for us, human beings, to have dominion over the earth. Are we doing a good job with that? Well, here's one interpretation from Ken Makovsky. He's a Forbes magazine contributor. The purpose of every business is to create revenues emanating from the customer. Keeping the customer, therefore, is a cardinal mission. And he goes on to outline 3 points that every business should be very wary of. One is to keep promises. One is to ask how I'm doing, which most people don't because they're afraid of the answer. And third is to ensure that employees are motivated, educated, and happy. In a sense, to regard your employees as your most valuable customer. Most employees, he found out, their number one complaint, the reason why they left their previous job was they were not being challenged enough. As human beings, we want to be challenged. We want to feel that we're doing good. We want to feel that we're growing. And when we feel that we're not growing, we feel frustrated and irritated. And often we would leave a job that made us feel that way. So here's another interpretation from Reverend Oliver Williams. He's a contributor to Business World Online. And he noted that increasingly business leaders are focusing on the dignity of all their stakeholders. And firms are taking on projects in the wider society to alleviate poverty. And he named a whole list of companies that have this approach, and Starbucks was one of them. And it seems to me that there is something going on here. That successful businesses understand one thing very clearly, and that is that your business, the product that you have, the service that you provide, is for the sake of others. And it had better be a good product, it had better be a good service, otherwise you're going to be looking for a job pretty soon. This is Reverend Myung's take on the subject. He said, in general, people think that living for others is not good. Yet this is the real way to reach the center, achieving ownership and receiving everything. This is a universal principle. Therefore, you should understand this concept of living for others. It is not something bad that brings losses. On the contrary, there is actually no better business than this. So, I'd like to read some stories to you that will illustrate these 3 points. What every successful business entrepreneur has been able to understand is to see a need, to provide a service, a passionate service, if you like, to fulfill that need. And the process of living for the sake of others brings mutual prosperity. It provides the service, it provides the scratch to the itch, and at the same time, so the customer is satisfied, and then the person supplying that service is also satisfied financially. Chris Zane. Anyone heard of Chris Zane? No, probably not. But he's a millionaire. Why? Chris Zane is in the experience business. Whether it's selling bikes in his Connecticut store or filling orders for corporate rewards programs, he knows a successful business is more than just selling stuff. Zane, who's now 46, got his start at the age of 12, fixing bikes in his parents' garage. At 16, he convinced his parents to let him take over the lease of a bike shop that was going out of business in his town. He borrowed $23,000 from his grandfather at 15% interest. That is not a favorable rate, let me tell you. His mother tended the store while he was at school in the mornings. In his first year, he racked up $56,000 in sales. This year, he expects to bring in $21 million. So again, he saw a need, he had a passionate desire to fulfill a service, to provide that need to others, and it brought mutual prosperity. People got their bikes fixed, and he got money. Story number 2. With the current obsession with label reading and organic ingredients, surely there must be dozens of organic baby food brands, right? That's what Los Angeles moms and friends, Leanne Weintraub and Shannon Swanson, thought, but they were wrong. The pair started making organic purees for their own babies, and they couldn't believe how few options were available in the stores. So they got inspired to fulfill that need. And today the brand is carried at Whole Foods, Fairways, Tops, and other chains. The company turned a profit 4 years after their founding, and now it's on track for 2.5 million this year. So again, see a need, fulfill the need, provide a passionate service to fulfill that need, and a mutual prosperity is the result. Story number 3, this is kind of funny, because the lesson here that the father tried to teach the son backfired. But it's all good, it all ended up well. When George Vlagos was in middle school, his father, a cobbler, would have him come into his Chicago shop to shine shoes every Saturday. John Vlagos, a Greek immigrant, was hoping to show his son that working with your hands is difficult and that he should find a different profession. Get well educated, go to school, get good grades, so you don't have to do what I do. That was the lesson. However, it backfired. The jobs that made it possible for him to afford a pair of nice shoes ended up driving him back to the family craft, where he realized how difficult it was to find a pair of quality shoes. So he decided to design his own. Today there is a 6-week waiting list for a pair of his shoes. It blows my mind that people are walking the streets of New York and Chicago and other countries wearing something that I designed, says Vlagos. So again, he's passionately fulfilling a need. And it does bring in the skill factor too. We are all gifted with different talents. Some of us are very intellectual, some of us are more athletic in general. But basically we all have unique talents. We all have a unique insight into this world. We all have a unique contribution to make. So, and we all have an original mind, despite all our other problems that we have and that we carry. We have an original mind. And when we see a desire, and if we have this original desire to reach out and help other people, then a great thing can come from that. This is the story of Scott Harrison. He didn't like the fact that things like toothpaste had better marketing campaigns than life-saving causes. So there were a few other things that he could change. So at age 30, Harrison founded a charity which brings clean drinking water to developing countries. One goal was to make sure that the branding wouldn't suck. So when Harrison was 28, he had the realization that he was a selfish scumbag. So while he was on vacation in Uruguay, he thought that he had everything that he had wanted. He had a beautiful girlfriend, a Rolex watch, a BMW, a nice big house, but he felt that he was a selfish scumbag. So that's a problem, right? We can't go around feeling like that. So he solved the problem by founding this company. And since then, he has funded 3,962 water projects, providing access to clean, safe drinking water for nearly 2 million people in 19 different countries. And his goal now is to raise $2 billion to help 100 million people in the next 10 years. So obviously a very driven, passionate person. And he has skills that enable him to do that and provide that kind of service. So the list goes on and on. I could stand here and give you a few more stories, but I'm supposed to be giving a Sunday service, so I'm going to keep going. So basically, going back to those 3 premises: to see a need, provide a service, and fulfill that need. Living for the sake of others is not about depleting yourself and becoming less and less and less and less and less, while the person that you're living for is becoming more and more and more and more and more. So living for the sake of others is a mutual win-win prosperity situation. I just want that to become very clear in our mind. Because I've heard that term, live for the sake of others. And at first it kind of grated on me, like, how can that be possible? But actually when you look at it, it is really the ultimate way to live. And it is the way that we were designed by God to live. Okay? Have you ever seen that skit? I remember seeing this skit provided in some kind of entertainment evening with friends, where people were showing what hell and what heaven looked like. And so there's a few people on stage, and each one has a humongous pair of chopsticks. Okay, I mean they're about 4 feet long. Okay, and then there's one guy who's trying to like feed himself with these chopsticks by holding onto the food and then opening it up and then trying to grab the food into his mouth while it's falling, and it's just a big mess. And then the scene changes to what does heaven look like? And they got the same chopsticks, they got the same challenges, but in this case, they're feeding each other. And so you kind of see how by working together, we create a whole lot of better situations for each other and ourselves. So you saw maybe in that video that we just saw the long list, and that was just a small fraction of lists of the companies that Reverend Moon founded. Why did Reverend Moon found all these different companies? Reverend Moon founded these different companies because he was trying to restore all these different areas. The sea, by starting fishing industries. The air, by starting aircraft industries. Every living thing, machinery, food, health, computer industries. There is a story that he wanted to get into the scrap metal business industry as well, but he decided not to because he found out that it was completely controlled by the mafia. Because it wasn't just about making money. For him, business was about raising people up in a safe learning environment. He often shared that if he wanted to just make money, he would have hired these top CEOs who are floating around the circuits and say, okay, you're a successful CEO, you've just been working for, this company, please come and, work for this company instead that I just bought and, make it a profitable company. He could have done that, but instead, he decided to put in charge of these companies. And you might think this is crazy and controversial, but he decided to put inexperienced people in charge because he wanted them to grow. He wanted to see them challenged. He wanted to see them overcome the challenges, and he wanted to see them own the situation, own the company. So that was a very controversial thing. It meant that the companies didn't do as well probably as they could have done, but they did well nevertheless. Because the idea of business is not just about making money. It's about service. It's about service. It's about service. It's providing service for the people working in those companies. It's providing service for the products and the services that those companies provide. So Reverend Moon is very clear about that. Now, here's another quote from Reverend Moon so we can get a better insight into his philosophy, into his thinking. When a person only cares about his own interests, he is everyone's enemy. When a person says that they will live for something greater, then they will naturally move past others. The conclusion can only be that true love, by which a person lives for the sake of others, is the only content and direction that everyone can welcome. So in today's world, we see conflict, the conflict between Israel and Palestinians in Gaza. I mean, it's terrible. We see conflicts going on in East Ukraine and Russia. We see conflicts, in our own multidimensional societies between ethnic groups and between classes and so forth. So when Reverend Moon's idea was that if we can become more whole-minded, if we can stop just thinking about our own selves, my family, my society, my clan, my culture, my religion, my group, if we can get past that and think more globally, then we can overcome, we can transcend, we can truly transcend the problems that keep us fighting against each other. So his idea was helping people to raise up their awareness of themselves, of their potential, putting them in situations where they struggle and grow. His idea was to start companies that could have a global outreach, so people have a global hand in different cultures and different countries. And his idea was to help people to make money as well, to support themselves. So in conclusion to this Sunday service, I would like to ask us to consider, what is my passion? Okay? Pastor Rick Warren, he talks about purpose-driven this, purpose-driven that. He, in his book, The Purpose-Driven Life, he talks about how everything in your life has a meaning and a purpose, and you can assign a meaning and a purpose to it. And every experience that you've had, whether it be good or bad or labeled good or bad, has contributed to who you are today, and can now be contributed out into the world as a positive force. So for us to consider business as a positive thing, I think is very healthy. You know, through business we can do so many good things. Through business people can be uplifted. People, criticize capitalism, but capitalism has uplifted more people out of poverty than any other social system that's ever been on this planet. So we have to consider that the next time we think about criticizing capitalism. The real problem is individual mindset. Small-minded thinking, short-term goals, short-term thinking, not thinking of the whole. That's the problem. That's the real enemy. That kind of myopic vision. But if we can have a whole purpose kind of vision, one that transcends our own group, our own family, our own nation, one that can truly bring benefit to mankind, then I think, the more power to those companies that will have that kind of vision, that will catch that kind of understanding of living for the sake of others being the ultimate way to live. Here's a kind of a small example, but it's just, I love this story because it's such a simple idea, but there's so much passion behind it. So when Joanna Meisleys took her son Ben, who's now 20, for his first haircut, she wanted it to be special. Now, we didn't have this tradition in our family, but she brought along a camcorder to the hairdressers to make a video to show the grandparents. Does anyone go through that? I mean, this camcorder and a hairdresser, anyway, for her, this was a big deal. So, it wasn't so much a bad experience, said Meisleys, but it wasn't everything I hoped it to be. She had greater expectations of this first haircut. So she decided to start her own company, Snippets, which is now the largest salon focused on children's haircuts in the country, with 63 locations in America and plans for franchises in different countries. So back in 1995, when the first location was opened in Framingham, Meisleys saw it as a prototype. And she said, I immediately saw something that could be big. I would never have thought of starting that kind of company. Why? Because I don't care too much about haircuts. But obviously, everybody has something unique, something to contribute, something that they're passionate about. And I think it's our job, our mandate, if you like, from our Heavenly Parent to look inside ourselves and say, okay, what have I been given? What have I been blessed with? How can I contribute to the world around me? How can I leave this world in a better place, in a better position, in a better state than in which I found it? So I think that's our challenge, and that's our goal, and that is the goal of every successful business. When you pass, you must take with you 3 accomplishments, says Reverend Myung. 1, that you loved God. 2, that you loved yourself and you worked hard to establish your essential self. And 3, that you worked hard to expand the love that you shared with your spouse and your family to the entire world. This love for humanity and for God will remain forever. It will define your right to ownership in the next world as well. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Parents, thank you very much for our lives. Thank you for endowing us all with individual skills and experiences that help to shape the lives that you see growing in front of you. We hope that as sons and daughters of you, that we can reflect your beauty, your truth, and your goodness, and give joy back to you by you having pride in your creation. So we know that many times we are challenged and we see only our limitations. But we hope that by holding on to you and by connecting with you and by making effort to establish that relationship with you, that we can rise above our limitations and become people that can truly shine and truly be all that we can be. So please guide us, please encourage us, don't stop encouraging us, we need plenty of that. We really hope that this coming week we can start to see growth and changes inside ourselves, that we can look and detect what we're passionate about, that we can find ways in which we can serve the people around us and make their lives more comfortable as a result. We thank you once again for this day and this opportunity. We are all gathered here as friends, and we sincerely pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior. Amen. And Jude. Please take a few minutes to turn your chairs and discuss your thoughts with your neighbors. Thank you.